For years, 321 Financial Liftoff Day has sparked ideas, opened doors, and inspired the next generation to dream bigger and think smarter about their future. From real-world advice to life-changing connections, this is where ambition meets opportunity. And now, it's time for the next chapter. Welcome to the 2026 321 Financial Liftoff Day by Community Credit Union.
My name is Mary Friday. I am the Financial Education Manager at Community Credit Union of Florida. I'll be one of your hosts, and this is Tanya Center. She is our member experience trainer. Yes, welcome Tanya, yay. All right.
We're so excited to see you here bright and early.
So the first thing that I want to say is, obviously talking about money and finances is not always fun, right? It's not always like the most exciting thing in the world. So I want to start off and I want to say thank you guys for taking the time in your own journey and life to do that today. You are here, you're thinking about your finances, and hopefully you'll talk about them a little bit more as well. So that is the number one thing. Give yourselves a round of applause for being here because it's amazing. Something that I have found is like the most important and best way to learn about money is to talk about it, actually. The more that you talk about it, the more that you ask questions about it, the more that you are going to know in the long run, right? So this panel today, which I'm really excited to welcome our panelists here pretty shortly, the most important thing is that you're gonna learn from their mistakes, you're gonna learn from their successes, and I want you to make sure that you're listening and paying attention, obviously, to what they're having to say. If you know something about money, then it's your job to share it with the people you know, right? It's really important to communicate that. And if you don't know something, say, hey, like, how does this work? How do taxes work? When you get paid, what does your actual paycheck look like? Ask those sorts of questions to each other and to your families, and obviously here today. So we are gonna wait a second for our panelists to come out, and we'll get started in just a moment. All right.
I'm Christina with the Brevard Banana. I create content full-time. We own a marketing company called GoldVine, and we have a social media channel called the Brevard Banana. And we do food, spots, experiences, and then we create user-generated content for national brands. My husband and I have been small business owners for 25 years. We've owned 6 different businesses. We did a lot of our own marketing, and we really had the heart to help other businesses, particularly small businesses, grow. That's how we began about a year ago. We began Brevard Banana as an extra, and it blew up. People kept following and loving it, finding spots they love. So we kind of stumbled on Brevard Banana. Our heart was to help businesses, and by helping businesses, we found out that the community really enjoyed finding new spots too.
We're excited to have Christina here, and we are going to bring out our next panelist, Johnny. Welcome, Johnny.
My name is Johnny Wiedmann. I have Wiedmann Construction and Roofing. I'm the president and CEO of it, and I've been doing this for my whole life. Third generation roofing contractor and general contractor. Around 13, 14 years old, I started working with my father, and then by 16, 17, I was running crews. Realized that this is something I love. It ran in my blood, my DNA. I wish somebody would have told me that it's not about how much money you make. It's about what you do with that money that you make and what you do in life to make a difference. I get to help my community. I get to help people in need. I get to give back to my community, and I also get to work with all of my close friends. It's a lot larger than I could have ever dreamed it could look like. This is an industry to get into because there is a lot of money to be made, but you got to remember when you're building something that, like a house, you're building a house, that's a family that's going to create memories in there. They're going to have Christmases there. So if you're doing the right thing, the future's watching it. It depends on you to make sure it's a great future. So do something good. Get into this industry. It's important.
Hello. So happy to have Johnny join us. And our next panelist is Keyshawn Phelps.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Keyshawn Phelps. also known as the Mindset Shifter. I am an award-winning engineer, motivational speaker, as well as a business owner of Toasty Coconut Cafe here in Merritt Island, Florida. I believe this path found me. I knew I always wanted to be something greater than what my environment and my circumstances allowed me, but engineering fell in my lap when I fell in love with robotics and Legos, but also being a business owner, just being able to serve the people great food, good quality, healthy food was one of my main priorities. So I feel like it all came and flowed to me. So as far as engineering, the ceiling is high, right? It all depends on your skill sets, your expertise, and what you bring to the company and the table. I think my biggest first money mistake was my first paycheck. I spent majority of my paycheck without saving, and I had a car issue, and I ran into the problem of not having enough money left over to pay for that rainy days. Credit can be a really great tool. Also, your credit score is really important. I know when it comes to getting a home, right? When it comes to getting a car, credit as a tool can really benefit you, but if you do not use it wisely, it can hurt you. There's three things that you need, right? One, you need the vision. You need to know where you're going, but also two, you need to have the plan to back up that vision. And once you have that plan, make sure you put action behind it. Those three things will lead you all the way to your success. Making sure that you have the vision, make sure you have the plan, and also put action behind that plan. Let's go get it, students.
All right, our last and final panelist is Alexandra Caimi.
My name is Alexandra Caimi. I'm a graduate from Satellite High School, Stingham Score. I am a commercial broker at Reach Commercial Real Estate, and I'm the president of Space Swap, a local nonprofit that stitches the community together through conscious fashion and the arts. Moved to Los Angeles when I was 19 years old to pursue a career in film and entertainment. Myself and two other good friends doing whatever we could to really be out there and chase our dreams. That's when we learned really quickly about money and adulting. I returned home during COVID. It really just started over, but it's not starting over, it's starting from experience. I don't believe in dreams dying. I believe in dreams changing as you step into the next version of yourself. 31-year-old version of myself couldn't have predicted all of the twists and turns in the road. In entrepreneurship, it takes time to see results, but your input equals your output. It takes continuing to push through those hard times. I needed to go out and experience life away from home to gain perspective. Being a female in a male-dominated industry is unique. 3% of commercial real estate investors are women, and so it's my mission to educate women on commercial real estate investing and to invest in the properties that we're putting our businesses in. Part of my journey is learning about investing and what to do with that money. I'm so proud of you for being here today and starting your money journey, and I'm so excited to be a part of it.
Amazing. Thank you all for being here. We've had a great morning preparing for you guys. And some great conversations already. So our first segment, we're gonna have 3 segments today. Our first segment is about managing money. So can a few of you, or actually all of you, raise your hands and tell me if you feel confident in managing your money right now? Raise your hand. Okay, nice. That's a pretty good amount of you, honestly. We love to see it, we love to see it. So obviously it takes a lot of learning, it takes a lot of experience to figure out exactly how you as a person want to manage your money. I always tell people it's about your relationship with money. If you feel comfortable talking about it, thinking about it, right? I kind of opened with that. And obviously, learning from experience and hearing people's stories about how they actually logistically manage their money is the best way for you to know different strategies that you can also take away with. So I am going to start our first question off to Christina, actually. Christina, when did money first become something you had to take seriously, and what changed for you in that moment?
Well, I got married young, and I was just 21. And before that, all my money was my money. And then we got married, and it became our money, and we didn't have a lot of it. And so we had to learn how to budget, and nobody had really taught me budgeting. I had a credit card that I would just swipe before one at Starbucks or whatever. And so accountability right from the get-go. And so we actually used a cash system when we were young newlyweds. And I got a whopping $200 every month to spend, and that was like my food money, my going out money, and like any personal item, basically anything that was not like a necessity. And I learned real quick that $200, even many years ago, would be gone really quickly if I didn't budget. So learning that really young was a very shocking, hard way to learn it. But we figured it out a couple months in and grew up and started making a little more money, so it wasn't no longer $200.
Yeah. Getting married can definitely be like that time where you're like, I have to know, I have to understand. Somebody else is going to be looking at my purchases.
Like maybe he doesn't value a $7 cup of coffee as much as I do.
Johnny, we talked about this a lot when we were getting to know each other. What does managing money actually look like for you day to day, and how did you really build that system over time?
Well, managing money, especially with the changing market that we have, I mean, everything's always progressing, things are changing. So you got to kind of take a look at your finances every day, morning, noon, and night. If you want to get, kind of nerd out on it, make sure you know what you got in your bank account. It's important to keep track of it because, that one bill, because we live in a society where, we all have Netflix, we all have auto pay, everything's auto pay, so you got to keep an eye on that because those silent things could kind of catch up to you. So knowing when your silent purchases are going to come out, that's a big thing. What did you priorly commit to? You committed to something, so you got to make sure you've got the money in there. And then, the big purchases, make a big purchase, but also live within your means. So I think, just knowing what you can spend and what you should spend and what you shouldn't spend, like look at those, weigh it out. If you got to wait 10 years to get that car, whatever. Get from A to B now and then see what you can do later.
Can you tell the audience about the fund account that you have?
Oh, yeah. So we kind of live with 60-20-10-10. So 60% of your money goes to your bills, like all the things you need, necessities. 20% you want to try to put in the savings. 10% if you can invest it, do that. But we have a fund. So it's 10%. If that's what you got coming in, you only spend 10%, you can have fun. One day, if you're managing it properly, that 10% will be a pretty good fun time. But you have to make sure that you're living within your means. It's worked for me, the 60-20-10-10. So if you're not investing, it's hard. You have to put some money to your future. It's super important.
Yeah.
And right now, it's being young, you're in the moment right now. And trust me, it comes very quick. One day you're like, how did I get 40? Like, how the heck did this happen? And it happens overnight. So I've got a 22-year-old daughter and an soon to be 18-year-old daughter. So they were just born yesterday, it feels like. So life does move quickly. So have that fund and spend 10%. But because you don't want to get behind. Because when you get behind, you get behind. And you can stay there. So just be smart with that. So the fund is a...
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you brought up percentages because I think when you're younger and you don't know exactly what that paycheck is going to look like, it's hard to be like, well, if I make $70,000 a year, where is my money going? If I make $100,000 a year, where is my money going? Think about it in percentages. Yeah. It's a really, really easy, clean way to say, hey, this is what I should be doing. And there's a lot of you probably know this, but there's a 50-30-20 rule too. Yep. You can do it in any percentage that you figured out works.
Whatever works for you.
It is a good way to kind of think about logistically where should your money go. That was a great answer. Thanks, Johnny. Yep. Keyshawn, how did your mindset around money shift once you started earning consistently? And what did that change in your behavior?
Yeah, so if I'm being honest, for me, when I started making money consistently, all I wanted to do was spend it. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. I wanted the nice clothes because I never had it growing up. Where I come from, we don't have money like that. So when I did get a chance to have that money, I spent it on like luxury stuff. I spent it on travel until I realized that that's not building my future. And for me, I understood that shift came when life experience came. My car broke down and I didn't have any funds left to cover that. And from there, it made me realize that you have to have discipline when it comes to making money. It doesn't matter how much you make. And I was making 6 figures, and then I look at my check after a couple weeks, and I'm like, where's all my money going, right? And once you start to sit down and have that realization with yourself, you start to see that, okay, I have to be better at managing. So that shift came from a life experience.
Yeah, well, and I think a point that you brought up is really good, is when you don't like come from it and then you have it. I have a similar experience. You're almost more comfortable with not having anything, and so you want to spend it, and you can. Like, it's your life now, right? It is all about being consistent and putting that discipline behind it, and also identifying what you want in the future, right? If you're smart enough to get a job with 6 figures, you're smart enough to put that money aside and be conscious about it.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, like once I got I seen my first offer for my engineering job, I was like, well, I'm rich. Like I didn't know that it was, it comes with a lot, but just understanding that money that was coming in, that's just not, it's not all about how much you make, but how much you can keep, how much you can save. And that right there was a big pivotal moment for me.
Alexandra, when you were building your career, what did the financial reality actually look like behind the scenes? I know that you moved to LA, you came back to Brevard, and now are super successful. What did that look like along that journey?
So I moved to LA when I was 19, and I supported myself completely for 6 years as I was pursuing and working professionally in film and entertainment. But behind the scenes, I was just surviving, right? And so before we can build our savings and we can invest and we can do all of these amazing things, first we have to learn how to simply survive. So I was working odd jobs in the food and service industry, doing different things to be able to support myself to work in the film industry until that eventually took over and I could go full time with it. And so I use that mindset, and I always say I'm monkey barring my way and building my dream on the weekends and after work and after school and all of those things, because I still needed odd jobs or my survival job to be able to sustain myself so that I can build my future and build that dream. And so even when I returned home and built my commercial real estate career, that didn't happen overnight, right? I had to build my pipeline or my book of business, my customers, because as an entrepreneur, I have to go out and find my own clientele, right? And so I, again, did what I always knew how to do, and I had my survival job, and I built my book of business until I could go all in. Now I'm a one-job woman, and it feels great.
Yeah, it does feel great, and I think everyone has that story. I think I had probably, it was after my first job out of college, then I worked at Starbucks for 8 months. And I think you have that realization when you're in those spaces. You've already had maybe a corporate job or you've done something. Everyone that you look at Walmart or the gas station, they also have a dream, and that might not be their only job, right? They might be just trying to survive.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, very good point. I'm gonna open this up. Anyone can answer it if they'd like. How did you handle a time when your income did not match your lifestyle yet? Was there something maybe that you, Keyshawn, go ahead.
Yeah, I can speak to that. For me, when my income didn't match my lifestyle, I had to be honest with myself. I had to sit back and realize, what are you doing wrong, right? You make a lot of good money on paper, so where's all your money going? And I think it leads back to education, and it leads back to being taught, how to manage your money. And like I said, I was never taught that, right? All I was taught, make money, pay your bills, and that's it. So for me, it's just being real with myself and not trying to keep up. My mom used to always say, keep up with the Joneses, right? So for me, it's understanding that, okay, even though this person may have a nice car at this age, that doesn't mean that's my time for it, right? So just being real and seeing where I'm at to analyze where I need to go. So that was one of my biggest things.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I would say mine is, because most people have the mentality of working, Monday through Friday, you get through the week, and then on the weekend you take your gloves off. And that's a mentality that I think just doesn't work these days. You have to really, as they say, you got to grind. But it's knowing when you're behind, then you need to step it up on your passion. You need to fall back in love with the reason why you got into what you're doing, and make sure that you really are focusing on it. You might maybe sit down with a pen and paper, sit there and write down, why did I do this? Why am I in this industry? Do I love it? Maybe you don't love it anymore. You don't have to, they ask you when you're young, what do you want to do when you grow up? I've met people that are 60 years old that don't even know what they want to do when they grow up. So it's okay to change careers too. So just make sure you're evaluating your happiness, because that's the most important thing. If you're not happy with what you're doing and who you surround yourself with, that's, I think, is the most important thing, is surrounding yourself with good people and loving your team. I have a heck of a team, and I love them dearly. They feel closer than my own family. So it's making sure that that's something that's core for you, because then your finances will catch up when you fall back in love with yourself and with your goal and your purpose and change your perspective a little bit. So I think that kind of helped me out quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Keyshawn, you had something to say?
Oh yeah, I was just going to just piggyback off of the happiness that he was talking about. I know a lot of us, we grow and we raised on, if you work hard, you make a lot of money, right? But also you can't work every single day. You'll get tired eventually, right? So being smart with your money so your money can work for you while you're sleeping. So just rewiring that mindset of like, oh, if I get this job here, if I do this job here, I can probably make this amount. But the harder you work doesn't help you get to that next level. It's about how you manage what you have now to propel you to that next spot.
Yeah. Can I ask the audience, raise your hand if you want to be an entrepreneur. See, there are some of us, I personally like getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, no matter what. That's like really fun for me. Like it shows up, it's Thursday morning at a credit union, usually get paid a day or two early, right? So it's there, it shows up. So obviously all of you are entrepreneurs in your own sense. Keyshawn obviously like works at, is an engineer, so also gets that steady paycheck. Did anyone teach you, right, the lessons that you're teaching the students today?
No, fail often, and it's okay to fail. You don't have to have the answer. Like some of us still don't have the answer up here, and you can fail, it's okay. If you don't know the answer, that's okay too. You are human, it's okay to err. So I think that, and then being a business owner and an entrepreneur, you don't have a job till you get that check, till you get that customer signed up. So you're jobless. You're out of work until you're not. So it's a hustle, it's a grind. So you got to make sure that every single day you're going out there and getting it, because you don't have a paycheck that's going to come from somebody higher up. You've got to make that happen. And then when you get employees, oh buddy, you better buckle in, because you got to make sure payroll is going to happen. And that's the stress, especially in this economy in this day and age. But you can't blame the weather. You can't blame the economy. You can only look at yourself and just do better. So it's.
Yeah, and for entrepreneurship, you are your own business, which means, taxes are gonna look a little bit different. And so for me, I live far below my means, far below my means, and that's how I have the ability and the runway to take big risks, right? And so, I keep my business expenses and my personal expenses very separate. So entrepreneurs out there, make sure you have a business bank account. And there are so many ways to structure it that I don't know if we're going to go into today. But if you are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, the first step is making sure you're keeping your finances, your personal and your business finances separate.
Yeah. Well, and you could share what what you were about to say. That's
okay.
Totally good.
Yeah. So when I get paid through my LLC, because I'm a 1099 independent contractor at the brokerage that I work at, and so my pipeline and my customers are my responsibility. So when I get that paycheck after closing a deal, then I personally like to keep everything in my business bank account. And I mean, I'm not a tax accountant, so I don't want to give too much advice there, but you can do what's called owner withdrawals, where you pay yourself from the business bank account, or, you could become what's called an S Corp, and you can become an employee of your business, which is a different structure. So I advise, becoming besties with your bankers and your tax accountants, and make sure you surround yourself with people and delegate the rest. If you are not an expert in something, you can still be a great leader and a great business owner, and you can bring on professionals to help you in those categories that you need a little bit of growth in.
So my parents were entrepreneurs, my husband's parents were entrepreneurs. I think we were both destined to be entrepreneurs, but we both went to college. And I just want to say, I have 4 kids around the college age. I have a 19, 18, 16, and 14. So they're around that very important age where you decide what you want to do and what that path looks like. And even in the entrepreneur world, the lessons you learn in college, particularly about how to run a business, about accounting, there's a lot of things that, for example, my son has a pressure washing company, right? Doesn't, what does college have to do with pressure washing, right? But how to run a business, unless you want to be the person always doing the business, like I can't imagine that you would always want to be on a roof when you're 70 years old. Yeah. You eventually want to have employees. And a lot of those skills you either learn from college or trade school. So that's just something I wanted to throw out there about entrepreneurship. It's an amazing journey and it's a lot of fun. Buckle up. Yeah. We've owned 6 businesses in 25 years, so buckle up, be willing to pivot, but you get the opportunity to do what you love.
Keyshawn has one more point, and then we'll get to the video.
I was going to say, if ever be a student. Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things. No matter how much success that you have, it's always a way to improve. For me, I'm always asking business owners, you know, how to do this, how to do this. So I'm an avid book reader. Like, I'm trying to find different instruments and different things to learn to get better, because like I said, I don't know it all, so I lean on others that have experience from me. And like I said, a wise man, you know, learn from, you know, others' mistakes, but a smart man learns from his mistakes. So I want to be a wise man. I want to learn from others' mistakes. So I try to take that on.
That's beautiful. Yeah, we are forever learning, right?
Forever
Lessons,
learning.
whether it's entrepreneurship or you have a 9-to-5. So speaking of having a 9-to-5, there were some panelists, you could call them, some people that we have in our network that we wanted to kind of give you the opportunity to look at their careers. And so I'm really happy to share this video from Kim.
Hi, my name is Kim. I'm a registered nurse. I work at the Health First Same Day Surgery Center in Palm Bay. My job as a registered nurse here is to get patients ready for their procedure, make sure they're safe and ready to go. Pay range in Central Florida is around the low 30s to start out with per hour. If you are looking to advance your career, there's many opportunities. You can specialize in things, you can get your certification, you can continue on and advance your degree, you can get a bachelor's, you can get a master's if you're looking to go into leadership. Some of the financial reality being a registered nurse is there's so many opportunities for growth. My first big money mistake was a new car smell. I should have opened a retirement investment account and put a little bit of money into that each and every month to have that grow. Bad credit follows you for a really long time. If you can work towards having the least amount of debt possible, not carrying credit card balances, living at or below your means, and saving. Go out and get it.
Is going to share some of the questions with our panelists that you guys have asked. So thanks for entering those questions.
So thank you for asking this question. So from the audience, we have, what are some ways that we can stay dedicated to saving your money at a young age? Which is a great question. And you know, it's technically, you know, something that they have already said, just being consistent. So whether you already, if you have an allowance, or who here already has a job? Anybody here already working? Wow, a lot of hands.
All right.
Good job.
All right. So for those who get an allowance, or whether you already are working, the best thing is to start putting money aside, right? So just as they were saying, you know, you can use different rules. So you can do the 50, 30, 20 rule, right? Where 50% is really going for your needs, right? Whether it's your gas, food, if you're already paying rent, or if you will be paying rent. Your wants is technically anything that you really, you know, want to get, and 20% for savings. So if anybody here already has an account, you can automate that, so then you don't have to even think about it. So you can actually get your paycheck, as Mary was saying, you know, you wait for that day, you get your paycheck. If it goes right in your account, try to set it up so where that 20% goes into your savings. So out of sight, out of mind. You don't have to worry about it, and the rest is for you to, you know, spend it, whether it's for your needs or for your wants. But that will start saving for you, and just that consistency is what's going to help you. Because again, you know, that money is going to be for you for an emergency, whether if you're already driving, what if, you know, you get a flat tire, or your car breaks down, so you never know. So that is going to start building for you. If you're supposed to save for your retirement, how can you have fun and spend some of your money now responsibly? So again, you know, you can still have fun. You know, you're young, you get your paycheck again, and as long as you're saving, there are different types of ways of saving, whether you use a savings account where it gives you a little bit of interest, right? So it actually gives you money where it's sitting there, or you can actually put in a CD or an investment, right? Something that is going to be a little bit more risky perhaps, but it's better in the long run. So again, you know, you can still get your Starbucks or get your coffee or whatnot, right? But you can actually choose to have perhaps a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA. I don't know if anybody in the room is a little bit, you know a little bit about IRAs or know what an IRA is. I know you're way far away from an IRA, from retirement. But so it's an individual retirement account, so where you actually put money aside, so where when you retire, you have some money, some extra money to live on. So a Roth IRA is usually money where it's funded with money you've already paid taxes on. So when you withdraw it later on in life, that's when your taxes are already, it's basically tax-free, right? So taxes are already paid. And traditional IRA is where perhaps you may get a tax bracket now, but then you might have to pay taxes later when you withdraw that money. So just keep, just the thought, just trying to get your money and then automate it so where, money is put aside for an emergency or a rainy day.
So each and every last one of you in here, believe it or not, you guys are running a business, right? And that business is your life. Now, when it comes to money, I always say, pay yourself first. And what I mean by that, I don't mean, go and spend this and go spend that, but put something aside so you can have longevity, right? If that's the goal. Or would you rather have a good 5-year run of you doing all the stuff that you love, or for the rest of your life, you would like to do all the things that you said you wanted to do. So just pay yourself first, but also too, making sure that you're putting stuff aside for the future you, right? For your kids and for your significant others. So I think that's one of the things that I agree with, for just paying yourself first, 10%. And it could be, I know you guys are young, so I don't care if your paycheck is $300, put $50 up, right? Because I know that might seem small, but that 50 gonna turn to 100, that 100 gonna turn to 200, that 200 gonna turn to 300. Before some of you guys graduate and things like that, you're gonna probably have at least a couple thousands in your account if you continue to do that and continue to keep bumping it up as you make more money.
We actually have a question from one of our student advisory board members. Panelists, if you wanna listen, and then we'll jump into your answers.
Hi, my name is Gunnar, and I go to Vieira High School, and I'm a junior. My question is, what did you figure out about money the hard way that school never taught you?
So I love this question because it highlights what school never taught you. You all in the audience are the first class to have financial literacy mandated in the state of Florida. So that's really exciting, but those of us sitting up here, we did not learn anything about money in school. So what did you learn in life that kind of you learned?
They definitely didn't teach about checkbooks and balancing a bank account when I was in school. And, but that's an important thing, keeping a track of everything you're spending. That's because it can get away from you quickly. And, like Keyshawn was saying, put some money away, but that's still I get it. I mean, if you're barely making any money, how am I going to do that? I got $300-400 a week. I can't put anything away. $5 is still something putting away. I mean, because that's just a savings fund, that you can, an emergency fund. So, but I never learned anything in school about money. It wasn't until I really got into the real world and found out that, what an overdraft was. And then I found out about an overdraft fee. You're gonna pay me for being out of money? Or I gotta pay you for being out of money? It doesn't make any sense. So finding that stuff out, the real world, like finding out how a bank works. And then at one point, I'm not even gonna go to a bank. Luckily, I bank with a community, credit union, and it definitely helps to know your banks too. The big banks are not for you. The local community banks, they are for you. So you're part of it versus, paying with the big banks.
Yeah. So honestly, it's a really good segue into our next segment, which is credit. This is something that a lot of people have questions about. It is something that we're working on all the time, every day. It is not a journey that just stops. I like to sometimes say you have to pretend it's not actually a game, but you can if you treat it like one and treat it like I need to be really, really good at this game to learn all the rules, it will serve you better in the end. And so we're going to talk about credit a little bit. It's going to impact you. It probably seems like a weird thing floating in the air that you don't really tangibly understand yet. Maybe some of you do, which is awesome. But it is important, and I would say ask as many questions about credit as you can, because there are a few key things. So I'm going to start off with Johnny. You actually told me a really great story about your kind of first big moment with credit. Do you want to share that story with me?
Sure, yeah. There used to be a Sears not too far from here, and I remember going in there at 18, and they're like, you want to apply for a credit card? I was like, all right, sure, I'm 18, I'll give it a shot. And they said, congratulations, you were approved for 25. I was like, 25 bucks? Like, no, $25,000. I was like, $25,000. So of course I'm like, this is a payday. So I was putting everything on credit cards, and I'd go to the store and I'd buy a pack of gum on a credit card. The guy's like, are you serious? You want to do this? I was like, yeah, it's not my money. And you know, as an 18-year-old, that's what I thought, you know, just slide the card and I'll pay it one day. Well, that will, like was said in the video, bad debt can follow you for a while. So, yeah, when you turn 18, a whole new door opens. That may be the first door into life, you know. I moved out at 15 years old, so I've always been not worried, but I've always focused on money. And that was having that credit card at 18, and then right after that, getting in debt, and having like, oh, I'm pregnant, so becoming a father at 19. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy, and I freaked out. You know, I took on 4 different jobs. I was doing roofing during the mornings, and I actually was delivering newspapers, and from 3 to 4 in the morning, 3 to 5 in the morning at Gannett, and then doing roofing, and then I was working at Subway at night, and then I was like, well, I got to go to school, and I went to college over at Kaiser University. I went for culinary school. Figured, you know, there's always a job because everybody's got to eat, you know, so I'd always have some backup plan there. But yeah, you can take a huge dent on your credit. So you got to be very, and I wish I knew that, you know, I didn't know that at the time because they didn't teach it in school. It was just one of those like, you know, hey, good luck, here's your diploma. Yes. All right, you know, you're on top of the world, and then you get smashed down.
I always say it's really important when you're learning about money and you're thinking about your own journey and money, not to feel necessarily bad about, like, give yourself grace, right? Because you didn't learn it. Yeah. And so, like, it is great now that you're using that to teach people and share it. But remember, like, it is all about what we know and what we don't know. And if you don't know something, then you identify, I need to learn that something.
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know,
and also,
as they say. Yeah.
Some experts say don't ever get credit. What do you guys think?
No, get credit. Just get good credit. Use it to your advantage. You need credit if you want to buy a home. Yeah. I mean, unless you got a big savings account.
That is a very good point. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say discourse, but there, you know, everyone has a different strategy with money, right? So if you right now have $25,000 to buy a car in cash, then you definitely should do that. But if you don't, then you're going to need to work on your credit score, right? My next question is for Christina. What would you do differently if you were starting to build your credit today?
Yeah, so I feel like when I was young, when I got my first credit card my freshman year of college, I was a college basketball player on a full ride. So I couldn't have a job because I was playing basketball, right? So I spent an entire year, ching, 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 ching. And then over summer, I had to pay that thing off. And what I didn't realize, and I think it only had a $2,000 limit, but what I didn't realize was that $2,000 I think became like $2,600 or $2,800, you know? So I spent all summer in between, and I continued playing college basketball. So I spent all summer working to pay off what I spent during the school year at like Fridays and movies and stuff. And then started the next college basketball season with no money again. That sucked. Don't do that. So I think the biggest thing now as a grown-up with money is really just realizing where your money is going and does it align with what you want, like what you want to do in the future. For example, I love traveling. I love traveling more than specialty coffee. So I don't go to Starbucks very often. Instead, I choose to use our fun money on trips and adventures and stuff, because if I spent all my money on Starbucks, I'm probably not going to get to go on a cruise, you know? And so it's looking at where your money goes. If you're not watching where your money goes, then it just disappears. At the end of the month, it's gone, and you're like, cool, I made this much this month, and now it's all gone. And if you watch where it goes, and particularly credit card apps now, and banking apps have just wonderful tools that they didn't have when I was young to track those expenses.
I was just gonna say that. My favorite thing to do is I write things down. Like, my husband and I have a financial meeting every month. We go over everything. Nice. It's a good way to keep me accountable. But number 2 is, like, at CCU we have a money management tool, and you can assign every transaction. So my budget, I actually like have entertainment as one, and if I go to Starbucks, like, that is an entertainment, like in my entertainment fund. That's what it is. So, like, if you start to like assign those transactions, then you know, oh, I went to the gas station, that's transportation, right? Then you can see it really, really easily. So we were on the same page there.
Yeah, it really helps knowing where your money is going. And no judgment on where it's going. Like, I know a lot of people that are foodies, and if foodies is what you enjoy, then by all means, spend that money on food, but at least you'll know where it's going.
I have gold status at Starbucks, so
I just
I'm
got
not with these guys.
Okay, yeah, I just got it, honestly, very
Oh, did you really?
recently,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
Going for reserve.
I get a lot of gift cards, though.
I'm bronze.
Okay, my next question is for Alexandra. You have a lot of unique, like you have a unique perspective when it comes to credit, being a commercial broker. And so tell me, like, what does it look like when someone's credit creates opportunities for them and when it limits them, right? You see those decisions happen in real time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the most applicable thing for this age group is you guys are probably going to be moving out of the house eventually and getting your own place, right? Raise your hand if you think you might get an apartment in the future, maybe with some friends. So you guys are going to eventually live on your own, right? So that's when credit really, really matters, is your first place on your own. So your landlord, the person that you're going to be sending your rent checks to, they're going to be looking into your credit score. Well, what if I don't have any credit? I'm like 18 years old. Now is the perfect time for you guys to start working on and building your credit. So I don't know exactly how credit cards would work. Maybe you guys, for under 18, would they have to open an account with their parents? So, right? I'm not sure, I'm not a banker.
Yeah, you can be added. You can. I did not have this privilege, but if your parents have good credit and they have credit cards, ask them to add you just like as a name. You don't need the actual card itself, but that really will boost your credit.
And the earlier that you can start building that credit so that you can eventually have independence. So you can get something called a guarantor. It doesn't have to be a family member. It can be someone that's close to the family that's trusted, that has good credit, and they basically just sign their name next to your name. But then you guys are attached at the hip. So if you don't pay your rent on time, you're not the only one in the fire, they are too. So that's important to keep in mind when bringing on guarantors. But the sooner you can have those conversations, and it doesn't have to be your parents, it can be your teacher, a trusted adult, a banker, starting to talk about how can I start building my credit now so that I can create independence in the future.
Yeah, and I'll say this, 35% of your credit score is calculated by your payment history, okay? So when you think about that, it's the biggest percent, it's the largest. How do you prove that you have payment history? You have bills in your name, right? So, and I know this is probably a controversial thing to say, but think about how much we all have phones, right? All of you mostly have phones. It costs something to have a phone, right? So the easiest way to actually, I would say, start building your credit is put something in your name, right? If you have a job and you're making money, do that, right? And maybe your parents are helping you a little bit or whatever, but try to get things in your name that you can pay, that you know that you're going to be able to pay for, I would say.
100%.
Yeah.
And
I
Mary,
use
looks
my
like we're getting a
credit
lot of
card
questions about
as
credit.
my debit card. So I use my credit card everywhere I go. If I get candy, gas, whatever, and then I make sure that I don't spend more than I have in my bank account because I want to be paying it off. And that's how you build good credit, is paying it on time.
Yes, amazing. We're gonna continue the conversation, but as we know, managing money isn't just about how much you make, it's also about what comes with that income, right? So your credit score and managing money is all important. We are gonna watch another guest panelist video right now.
My name is Brandon Burrows, and I work for the Boeing Space Launch System Program Management Team, supporting the NASA Artemis program, whose mission is to take people not only back to the moon, but this time to stay for a lot longer. I had a big interest in outer space since I was a little kid, just looking up at the stars and wanted to know how I could get there. And I came to a pretty quick conclusion that if I wanted to get there, I'm gonna have to build something. And to build it, it seemed pretty natural for me to want to be an engineer. When it comes to the finances and a lot of these jobs, or just being a professional in general, we look at the salary and it just seems like it stops there. To me, the paycheck looks much bigger than just the salary. It includes all of those things, whether it's benefits, 401k, and all those other things that are part of the package. But the financial reality is that finances come in a lot of different shapes and forms. Yeah, I would definitely say when it comes to credit, start early. The earlier the better, I think, sometimes, but make sure that you're making good decisions when you are doing these things early.
Yay. All right, that's our last guest. guest panelist video, but we're very thankful to those individuals for contributing a little bit more perspective for you guys. Our last segment is really about what comes next. I think I titled this segment, How to Plan and Pay for What's Next, okay? So I want you guys to think about maybe the next 5 years of your life and really dream, right? A lot about finances and being successful is really setting goals, which is like a boring thing to say, of course, right? But when we think about our goals and really what we want, and we just write them down, and maybe we put them on a piece of paper and we don't ever look at them again, that's also okay. Sometimes like you're setting that intention in your mind. So I would suggest that when you leave here today, think about like, maybe it's a certain amount of money that you wanna make because you know what you'll need to be comfortable, right, or a guess. And then just like think about the dreams that you have. And that's what we're kind of, our last segment is gonna cover. It's really not about perfect decisions, right? It's really about exploring what you wanna do, exploring what you can do. And we're gonna talk about y'all's experience with that as well. When did you feel like you had a real plan for your future?
A real plan for my future. Really when I started to settle roots, coming back home after COVID, starting over but from experience, I had more of an idea and a direction of what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go. But not much has changed as far as the principles that I live by, like living far below my means. Like I own my truck outright. I don't have any car payments. It's not an expensive truck. I mean, just living really simply, and you know, as I'm building wealth for my future and gonna start my own commercial real estate investing journey, just continuing to learn and grow and
yeah, no, that's perfect.
Okay.
No, I love it. Keyshawn, what did it actually take to become an engineer, and what would have helped to understand earlier? You have a great story that you shared with me, and feel free to share it with the students as well, but what did that kind of look like until now?
Yeah, so for me, engineering wasn't something that I woke up and was just like, oh, I want to become an engineer. So I'm originally from Newark, New Jersey, and if those that are not familiar with Newark, New Jersey, it can be a real crime-infested, poverty-stricken environment, and there wasn't a lot of positive role models in my life. So the first thing that I always wanted to do was I just wanted to change the dynamic of my family. So the first thing we always see on TV is what? Sports. So I was like, I'm gonna play sports. That's all I wanted to do. And also too, like I said, they always show us that, you know, we can be an artist or entertainment. And I'll tell you, I can't rap. I can't do none of that. So that would have fell. And also just street life, right? But to be honest with you and being vulnerable with you, like I said, I come from a single parent household. My mother raised me. Father was incarcerated for the majority of my life. So I didn't have no positive role models around me. So I had to figure out what I want for my life. And for me, I thought it was football until I got to my senior year, and all those D1 offers that I was looking forward to was nowhere to be found. So I had to make a decision and see what was next for me. And I knew that, you know, I always dreamed of, you know, being an Iron Man, having a technology house, and, you know, driving a nice car. So I said, you know, I want to be an engineer. And that was more harder than just saying it, right? For me, I started behind when it came to engineering. I was never exposed to engineering like my peers was. So when I got to college, yeah, I said I wanted to be an engineer, but that was all talk. I had to really lock in, and I remember coming into my class, and I remember I'm thinking this first day of school, I got my nice outfit on, I'm like, oh, this is perfect, right? I sit in class, they're gonna ask me my name and where I'm from, and then I'm gonna get up out of here and I'm gonna go home. And from there, I remember the teachers like, you know, get your notebook out, get your textbooks out, and they started going over, you know, engineering stuff, and they like the X over Y equals this over this, and I'm like, ooh, I don't know none of that stuff. And I remember asking my peers around me, and I'm like, hey, do you understand this? They're like, oh, I learned this in high school. And I'm like, oh. No. I'm like, do you know this? Oh man, it's easy, man. Yeah, I've been took this. And I'm like, oh. And that negativity started clouding my mind, like, man, maybe this ain't for me. Like, maybe I need to give up. Maybe I need to go back to where I come from. And I remember doing one of the most humblingest things, and that was getting a tutor. And for me, I'm talking about getting a tutor on like Algebra 1 and Calculus 1. And I'm like, man, I don't know where I'm gonna learn this, but I remember having friends that was like, man, we going out to party tonight. And I'm like, I gotta go to tutor. You know, like, because I knew that I wasn't here on scholarship, right? I wasn't here like because I was super blessed and chosen. I was paying out of pocket for this. So I was like, you know what? My mom didn't bust her behind for me to come to college, for me to fail. So I was like, that's not in my system. So I started studying more. I started becoming, you know, learning as I go. And for me, I think the biggest thing that helped me was not quitting, right? And I think for me, like I always say that An L is when you stop, right? But it's a lesson when you keep going. And as I kept going, I kept learning lessons. And it didn't happen overnight. I still failed some exams, but I had that grit and I had that toughness to say that I'm gonna get over whatever I'm going through. So for me, like I said, it's just putting one foot in front of the other and being able to, get past whatever you're dealing with, because information changes the destination.
You mentioned grades, which I think is a really good point. And after this, I have a good question that will follow for Christina. Yeah. But tell me a little bit about the difference, because I know I was not a good grade test taker either. Tell me about the difference between being good at school and being good at your job. Like, where does that, and does that make a difference? Yeah, so being good in school, I feel like it does correlate to the work as far as comprehension. Understanding when someone's giving you something, how can I comprehend this? Yeah. The thing I would say that is different from, I guess you want to say career-wise and like in school, depending on your teacher, but for me, if a teacher gives you an assignment, that's for you to complete, that's for you to get done. And me being an engineer working in the space field, we have a lot of projects that you can lean on others to get help with. Yeah. So if I'm not the smartest at something, I can ask, Johnny, and I can ask others like, hey, can you help me with this? And it's a team effort, and we can set up a meeting and get that done. So for me, like I said, I think just learning better habits, because a lot of times I wasn't a great test taker myself, but that was because I also didn't put in all the hard work that I wanted to as well. So I think that was the difference between school and career for me. There are no like tests in corporate America, but there are like things like this event that we all prepared for, right? There are things that look different. Christina, I want to talk about skill a little bit, because you have obviously a gamut of experience and different things that you've done as an entrepreneur, but what skill has had the biggest impact on where you are at financially, and how did you develop those skills?
The biggest skill that I think that I've needed in these 25 years of being an entrepreneur is the ability to pivot and flexibility. Entrepreneurship is not a linear journey, and like we've said here, we've heard multiple times about failure and ups and downs, and that's a part of life in anything you do. But particularly in entrepreneurship, I can tell you I know a lot of different business owners from the years that I've done, but through the Brevard Banana, I meet business owners every single day in Brevard County, and most of them have failed. Most of them have failed, or have struggled, or are struggling. And it takes a great deal of perseverance to continue to show up when your paycheck is not guaranteed, when you don't know how you're going to make the bills. You either have a choice of continuing sharpening your skills and pivoting and being flexible, or giving up. And that's a really hard reality of the entrepreneur journey, but it's one that every single one faces. And so just that ability to be flexible and move. When we opened a surf shop here in the Avenue 7 years ago, we spent our 1-year anniversary closed from COVID. We're supposed to be having a 1-year party celebrating how great the shop's doing, and we're closed. And we had to pivot, and that pivot looked like we were the delivery drivers. People would order something from online, and we would get in our car and go drive it to the house, because that was cheaper than shipping it out, and it meant an extra $6 in our pocket. That's a pivot, right? It's a pivot that you make as a business owner. And so just kind of, and I think even in the corporate world, that's a very much, if you can pivot and you can go, okay, this isn't working, or I don't like this, and you can just kind of hold things loosely, but with perseverance, it will serve you very, very well. And you learn that skill right now while you guys are in school and athletics and in your first jobs. Don't be afraid to pivot.
I want to ask an off-the-cuff question. But I think it'll give our audience a good idea of the many different jobs that we might have. We a lot of times think, if you want to go to college, you go to college, and then you have this job, and then you do it. That's really, I don't think, ever the case. And sometimes maybe people are lucky. Johnny, can you tell the audience from high school every job you've had, if you can remember, or like businesses that you've done, and you can give us a shortened version.
Yeah, I'll give you headlines of it. Since high school, so when I was younger, I was in a touring band, and we toured all over the country. It was fun, and after that, finding out I was going to have a child was kind of hit the brakes on that. But since then I've had numerous jobs, but I've always, one thing consistent in my life is is construction. I've always done it. I've always enjoyed building. I love working with wood. Building stuff with my hands it's tangible. You can hold it once you build it. It's just like if any musicians in the audience, if you write a song, it's yours. You've created it. It's only yours because you're the only person that's played it exactly how you played it. So for me, it was that tangible thing I could hold. So construction's always been, since I was 13, I was helping. I'm third generation roofing and general contractor. So I didn't have the choice. You know, I wasn't allowed to skateboard and play music that summer when I was 13. I was pushing a magnet on the ground with my father's company. But it taught me a valuable lesson that if you learn something, you fall in love with it, stick with it, you are, to touch on the pivot, you are going to pivot to something else just to kind of move the needle to the way that where you need it for the time being. So going up to there, I did that. I went to culinary school when I was 19 because I freaked out I was having a kid. I was like, oh my God, college, I got to buy a car. Everything, fear came in. So after that, I worked at a couple of restaurants, always doing roofing and construction. And then at 27 years old, I took a tax return. It was like a $2,500 tax return, and I turned it into what I have today. Wow. So you don't have to really have a lot to start something. You don't have to just start doing it. So I would say it's a journey, and love every moment, because you need the bad times to appreciate the good times. Because without the bad times, it's like the good times are not as fulfilling as they are. And to touch on what Keyshawn said, sports. Everybody sees sports. Could you imagine just for a second, every sport, just think of a sport right now in your head. I know some of y'all are listening with your eyes open, some with your eyes closed, but any sport. Now think of that sport without a goal. That's ridiculous. It's just somebody running around a field or a court just with a ball in hand and no purpose. So goals are super important. Make sure you set your goals, even if they're astronomically out of reach. It's okay. One day you'll get there. At one point in your life, you didn't even know how to crawl. And then you figured that out, and then you walked, and then you were running. So everything's attainable. But just set your goals. So I would say that's a big part there. So.
I love that. Can we have each of our panelists share your current goals right now? Like, what would you say is a goal that you have for the next 5 years in your life?
Oh gosh, really put on the spot here.
I am.
No, I love it. Well, I just got married in November. Yay. And, we have family goals. We would love to start our own family and have children. I have commercial real estate investing goals, because only 3% of commercial real estate investors are women, meaning, the buildings in which businesses go, not the houses that people live in. So I think it's really important for us locals to be in ownership of this type of real estate, and to keep working with the youth and inspiring the community and doing whatever I can to give back to Brevard County, because I love this place.
I love that.
Yeah.
What did you say? Stingham Scorp?
Stingham Scorp, yeah.
Perfect.
Satellite in here.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. Yeah. Perfect. What about you, Keyshawn?
So for me, I have a couple goals. One of my goals for me is to impact someone. The mindset shift, that's what all is about. It's about shifting your mindset, getting over limiting beliefs, right? Getting over the things that you feel like is stopping you. So as long as I impact one person, each time that I go and speak to different schools, different organizations, that's my main goal, is just to shift one mindset. But as far as I have a cafe out in Merritt Island called Toasted Coconut. You guys should go visit. And my goal for that is just to be able to create an atmosphere where people can come and vibe out, right, have a good time, and also get good quality food. But also for me, it's just the overall goal is to continuing breaking barriers, getting in different places that I never even thought that I'd ever be. Like I said, for me, I told you guys a little bit about my background, but from that background, I was able to, like I say, become an award-winning engineer. I became an author, right? I also became a college professor, right? I've done so much, but because it's not about how you start, but how you finish. So when it's all said and done, I want someone to walk from here today and say, wow, because of Keyshawn Phelps, he was able to inspire me to go after my goals. So that's my goal.
I could say that.
Yeah.
I could say that. You're already doing it. You're already doing it. Johnny, what about you?
So when I got into my industry, I thought I was just going to do more roofs and build more houses, but I found out that my purpose in life was to watch others succeed. That's the most, at my core, I love seeing the people around me do amazing. Because there's nothing like my favorite thing is around, Christmas time or something, everybody's posting gifts being opened and, they're spending time with their family. I helped create that. That's the coolest thing in the world. You've changed a life, ultimately for the better. So I would say growing that. I love growing our team, and our team is incredible. So for 5 years, to answer your question, I would say to bring on a few more people. We don't hire often, but we hire with intention, you know, and it's in growing that and watching, you know, grow together, you know, grow side by side. A leader should, you know, lead left and right, not, you know, get behind me. So I think coming up together, we have a saying, it's Ubuntu. It means I am because we are. And we say that in the company because it's important, because we're all only as good as the next. And to have a purpose and like, you know, they always talk, you know, a cup half full or half empty. Just focus on the cup. You got a cup. Who cares if it's half empty or half full? Love that cup. That's your life. You know, that's your purpose. Like Keyshawn was saying earlier, you know, you have a business. This is your life. Your word is everything. So be good with your word and have integrity with it. You know, like just really, really push, because that's what is going to get me to my goals in the next 5 years, is just waking up with the decision, do I do good or do I not do anything at all? Do good. You're given the opportunity. It's your choice. If you don't like where you're at, look in the mirror, not the person next to you. You can change yourself just by believing and loving yourself and loving the people around you. Get involved and love your community. I mean, my community, I was born and raised here. So my kids are 5 generations, so we've been here forever. So yes, anything I can do to give back to the community, we love to do that. So that's another one.
Well,
so sorry for the winded answer.
Thanks for what you're doing now. Christina, you want to share your goal, and then we will have one more question from our Student Advisory Board.
Yeah. So I'm a mom first before I'm a business owner. So we're in the stage of launching kids. So I want my kids to all get jobs and move out. But beyond that, for our marketing company, GoldVine, right now it's me and my husband. So I'd love to, in the next 5 years, have a team of 5 people, a videographer and another person who's comfortable in front of the camera and a graphic designer. So that's definitely one of our goals, is to grow. We focus on helping businesses locally. So really, I feel that when you serve people and you make your goal not to make money, but to serve people well and to do what you do well with integrity and honesty and with a servant's heart, the money follows. And so that's our goal for GoldVine. And then with the Brevard Banana, man, we love blowing spots up. So I love getting to share like a hidden gem or something really cool, and a bunch of people discover it and it becomes their new favorite coffee house or restaurant. It just makes me so excited. I love that. So I have no plans of stopping.
I love that. Perfect. Okay, if we have that video already, we'll go ahead. Otherwise, we will go to some of our student.
Hi, I'm Madison. I'm a sophomore and I go to Astronaut High School. My question is, if your career didn't work out, what would your backup plan be and could you afford it?
I love this question. What would your backup plan be and could you afford it?
I think I'm living in my backup plan. Right? Like we closed our shop and we had that for 13 years and I didn't know what was next. We just knew we wanted to go into marketing. We'd done it for ourselves and we knew we wanted to help other business owners locally in the community with the skill set that we had learned. And so we kind of fell into our backup plan. And the question is, could you afford it? We lived pretty poorly for a while. Like it was a struggle bus, hence the pivot. So we're growing and going and pivoting and flexible, but it was a big shift going from owning a very successful retail store to starting a marketing company with 0 clients from the ground up. So yeah, I'm living in the backup plan, and who knows? I might be in another backup plan in a couple years. You know, you don't know. Yeah. So that's where the flexibility and pivot. But I'm pretty sure we'll figure it out.
Beautiful, beautiful. Tanya, do we have any questions for our panelists from the students?
Yes. So we have a couple of questions. So how do you know what to buy or when to buy with a credit card versus a debit card? And it all depends, but mainly when you use a debit card, the money will come out of your checking account. So when you open an account, you would make a deposit there where there is, say, $200, right? They will give you a debit card, this little plastic that you swipe everywhere, and the money will come out of there. When you apply for a credit card, you technically get a loan, right? So the bank will actually give you money to spend, but you have to pay it back. So some of you were talking about credit, and there were a few questions about, explaining how to get credit. And some of you already explained greatly how to, apply for a credit card. So there are different ways to apply for a credit card and build credit, especially at a young age. So number one, right, you can actually be with your parents, so you can, be joined as an authorized user with your parent, or, be a co-signer with your parent. But you can also have a secure credit card. So where you can put money in your account. So let's say you put $500 in a savings account. The bank will freeze the money and they will give you a $500 credit card, right? So they will secure it with your own money. But anytime you use it and you pay it back, that is going to be reported to the credit bureau. So that means, that's how you start getting some points, and you will create a FICO score or a credit score. So that is all very important, because later on, financial institutions will look at that number to see how well you paid your bills, right? Or perhaps if you don't pay your bills, right? So your interest rate will be lower if your credit is better. And your interest rate will be higher, so you'll pay more if your credit is not as great. So take advantage now and start building your credit if you can. So therefore, back to the question, so when you use your credit card, again, the money will come out of a loan, but you have to pay it back. So something very important that Mary said earlier, right, to try to keep your percentage under 30%, because credit cards or revolving credit is one of the things that has the most impact on credit score. So if you maxed out that credit card that has $500 limit, your credit score is going to go down. So it's always good to have a little bit of a cushion, right, and not to spend more than 30%.
That's very fair. I'm going to pause you. I think we should have an astronaut joining us.
Ooh.
Is that correct? I don't know if anyone in the back has seen him.
What?
We had him come back from the moon, I guess.
He came all the way back to space with a question? All right. Fine.
I am looking for the astronaut. Anyone? I like how you guys are all looking. I really appreciate it.
He was
I'm pretty
with
sure
the
he's
paparazzi.
backstage, but...
I think we see some movement over there.
Oh my God. Okay, so obviously, we did not get to as many of your questions, and we will be answering all of them, or as many as we can, on social media, which we'll talk about later. But our astronaut here, I don't know his name, but he's an astronaut. That's all I know. He has this box, and that box is called the catch box. The catch box is a microphone, so you can actually speak into it, and you can throw it to each other. So our astronaut is gonna, if anyone has a question that maybe they've asked in the chat, and we haven't gotten to it, obviously we've only gotten to a few, you wanna raise your hand, and he's gonna, oh, I got some students over there, Mr. Astronaut. Perfect. And then if you guys could, when you're asking the question, could you stand, if that's okay, just so we can see you well.
So how do you know, like, whenever you're making your purchases with, like, your spending money, how do you know what's, like, really worth spending your money?
Whoa.
That's a great question.
Well, it's how bad do you want it, and how bad is it going to put you in debt, or is it not going to put you in debt? So if it's something that you really, truly want, and I mean, what's the dollar figure? You have a figure in mind, or are you just anything and everything?
Anything and everything.
Okay. So yeah, if you're looking at, like a gold necklace or something, make sure you got enough money to pay for it. You know, like if you can make those months, and never make the minimum payment, always make at least double. So look at that first. So if you can afford that, then it's worth spending money on. And then also evaluate, do you really need it? Is it getting you further in life? Or is it just something flashy that somebody else? So I heard a monk say a long time ago, and the perspective is, and this is how we all pretty much think, is I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am who I think you think I am. It's a lot to take in, but it is, we really, literally live our lives going, if I had this, I bet they would think I'm better, or they would think more of me. So erase all of that, that's just echoes, we create all of that. So I would say if it's worth something to you individually, and not because what you want someone to respect it as your purchase, but if it's important to you, for solely you only, then do it.
Also, I like to piggyback off of that as well. One of the things I like to do is we are all sometimes can be impulsive buyers. So if you see something, you like it, you want it. So take your time, right? I always say give it like 24 hours. And that's what I usually do. Sometimes like I want a new camera or I want a new phone. I'll wait 24 hours and then see if I if I can hold out. And then from that point, most of the times I'm like, I don't even need that phone. Like I already have a working phone. So that's just something that I usually do. Like something that you probably can do. It could be 24 hours, 48 hours, even a week, whatever works for you. But like you said, if it's not propelling you and if it's not something that's like within that's making you happy, because how many of you guys in here, by raise of hands, was like, yo, I need those new sneakers or I need that new phone, and then got it and was like, I need a new phone, I need a new sneaker the next time somebody comes out, right? So it's just curing and cutting down some of those I wants to like what you really, really need.
So I definitely want to move out after I graduate. Like, how long should I wait, or like how much money should I save before actually doing so?
Yeah.
So typically you're gonna need first month's rent, last month's rent, and security deposit. So that's typically 3 times rent, just for moving out.
Do we know like how much would you say, like, if you're gonna live in this area, how much would be first and last month's rent? Like 1 bedroom-ish.
Oh, it really depends. I mean, I've seen rooms, just a room for like $1,000.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So let's assume 1,000, right?
I don't know. Yeah. So let's assume 1,000. So then, if that's the case, you would need 3,000 to move in, to be move-in ready, and then. I don't do as much residential real estate, but just from my own experience, I know landlords like to see like 6 months worth of bank statements, if not a couple years, and then they look at your credit. So it really helps if you have income, a job. If you don't have these things yet, then you can get someone to guarantor, like a parent or something like that. And, at your age, I would highly recommend getting roommates. I've always had roommates or lived with family until I was able to really afford to move out on my own. And if you guys have the ability to live with family and save, take full advantage of that.
Yeah, it sucks to think about, but like you will thank yourself later. And honestly, like if you put yourself in the position of having to pay like $1,000 plus food, plus all of this, think about that and think about how much money will you have to spend versus if you're just at home and like, trust me, I know it's like that idea, it sucks, right? But do it as long as you can, like that's good for your mental health, all that stuff. And then like when you have enough money and you feel like you can do it every single month, then do it.
And I know it's very conservative thinking, but I like to spend a quarter of my earnings on living expense. I know, that's very conservative. I think the average American does like a third to a half, but if you're spending half of your income on just living expenses, find a cheaper living situation.
That's true.
In my opinion.
Yeah. Ooh, that was a good one.
Okay, so with inflation, how has it been affecting your finances? As in, like for example, gas prices. Like my tank normally takes 30, but now it takes 40.
Yeah.
So how has it affected, like especially when it goes up or when it goes down?
For me, I say it affects me a lot. I know for me personally, gas, because I travel a lot for getting inventory for the shop, or whether it's traveling to speaking engagements and things like that. So gas does play a part, but also I try to adjust, and I try to have, like say that back to the point we were saying, we're saving money and having money. So I have money saved up, so for a rainy day, like the inflation and things like that, and just trying to adjust and pivot with the times. That's for me, that helped me out a lot. It's nothing that I can do, but just try to adjust and try to get better, try to make more, try to do more to accommodate that inflation until things settle out, hopefully.
I'm going to have Johnny go next, but I do want to say, it does like suck to have to care about the economy sometimes, right? Like you don't want to sit there and be thinking about like, what is the stock market doing, blah, blah, blah. But as you get older, like interest rates are one of the most important things. And it's like, I'll be at something and my friends will be talking about interest rates and I'm like, guys, like, can we have fun, right? But it really, when it starts to affect you, like, then you pay attention, right?
Well, the good thing and also the bad thing is the inflation's happening to all of us, so we're not individualized and like this is, are you guys not? We're all feeling it. But it's just like when you're baking a cake. If it doesn't come out sweet, you add a little more sugar. You just got to kind of bake it into your life. So if you're like as a business owner, unfortunately, it's got to be passed on to the customer. So the customer's going to pay that inflation. Just like from my supply houses, like we just got a letter this week, hey, delivery is going to go up to $175 instead of $100. So that's $75 more that we either eat or we pass on, to our customer. It sucks, but everybody has to do it because we all adjust. We don't stop driving because the prices go up. We go, okay, well, this is what it is. Adaptation. Yeah. You just got to be able to be somewhat like a chameleon, adapt to it. That's not really a solid answer because there really is no answer to adjust to it other than pivot, So.
I think that's where, like when we talked about not spending so much of your income on your living expenses, that's where it really comes in key with things like inflation, right? If your living expenses like your rent or your mortgage is only this much of your income, when inflation comes, because it will, it's, gas money goes higher or whatever, as long as your fixed costs aren't as much, then you can go, I used to eat out every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I used to get lunch out with my friends. Cool, now I have to pack a sandwich for the next. Is it fun? No, but at least you have the flexibility to do that.
Yeah, it's dinner and a movie. Well, it might be dinner or a movie. So it's just kind of taking those and kind of figuring out.
That's a great question, by the way.
Yeah, great question.
Also, one thing to consider is for those who are working, every year we usually have a little bit of an increase in our pay, right? And so what do? Oh, we have more money to spend, so let's spend it. So, but then that's when you have to think about things like inflation, right? Because then within a year, things are, again, going to be a little bit higher price. So if you're actually putting money aside, so whether it's 10% or 20% or whatever case may be, then when you get a raise or when you get an increase or your income actually increases, also consider putting that more money away, right, aside. So then you can be prepared or at least have a little bit of cushion for this types of situations.
Do you want to get the catch box and give it to our astronaut? I think there were a few in the back, otherwise. And we can put the slides on the screen as people leave. Yeah, no, and we're good. I think we covered it, so I think we're okay. All right. Yep, all the way back there. I'm sorry.
You just put in some effort. We see you. Ooh, that's a big throw.
Yeah.
Oh. Mary.
We did a lot.
As you see, he didn't make the basketball team. He's an astronaut.
Palm Bay Space Coast.
Perfect.
So my question is, it's for the man who does roofing.
Yes.
How do you start up your business, like for LLCs and all that stuff? How did you get your permitting done, and did you actually just run it through like a store or something like this, or online?
Yeah.
How did you start that?
Yeah, so you'll go to the DBPR, Department of Business Professional Regulation. You also SunBiz online. And if you go to SunBiz, it'll show you all the things. So starting your roofing, you need to have a state license. So you need to go and take the test. But you also, are you working? Are you in the industry? Okay. So you have to have industry, you have to be part of the industry for, I think it's 4 years. You have to show 4 or 5 years on paper that you did it. Once you do that, you go sit for the state test. Now there's 2 tests. There's the business of finance, and then there's your construction knowledge. And you'll get, and it's open book test. That sounds like, oh, that's easy, but you have 4 hours and you have about 15 books. So you need to know how to navigate those books, and they kind of trick you. They'll ask you a question like, would you if you could, but maybe not, but if you did, and you're like, what does that even mean? So doing that, first start out with SunBiz. It's sunbiz.org, go there. And then after that, you're gonna find all the things you need to know about going to take your test, Pearson VUE over in Melbourne. And then once you do that, you take your test, you get your books, then you'll get your license on the Department of Business and Professional Regulation. And then from there, it's, the sky is the beginning. So you start there, and just, push at it. Is that what you're looking to do? You looking to get into the trades?
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. Well, I wish you the best of luck. It's a wonderful industry. It can be cutthroat, but that's everything. So I'm rooting for you.
Palm Bay and Space Coast, it is time for you to stand up. Follow your counselors out to the buses. Palm Bay and Space Coast.
All right. While Palm Bay and Space Coast leave, hopefully they won't take the. Oh, perfect. And then Mr. Astronaut, if you
Throw it way
want to
up
come
front.
down, I think we have, this is the next person I saw, so I'm going to have you ask a question.
Also, if you are missing a cell phone, check to make sure you have your belongings. There's a pink cell phone that was left in the ladies' room. So if you're missing a cell phone,
You better not be a male.
come find a counselor.
I don't think it's mine.
It's a cell phone with a Hello Kitty. I have another question. Mary.
And all of you that are walking away, the one thing that we did not show is all of our panelists' social media handles. So we will be sharing those out when we get it back up. But for those of you that are walking out, we'll share them with you. Oh, and we might have another school.
I have one more.
Bayside and Heritage. It is your turn. Please stand up and orderly follow your counselors out to the buses.
With all the commotion, let's hear it for Community Credit Union for putting this together. I think it's incredible. That's really incredible. Absolutely. And DJ La Poet in the back, let's hear it for him. Woo! And our awesome astronaut. Fresh back from the moon.
Thanks, Johnny.
They had you to
Honestly,
take an
give
Uber,
it up for
so.
our panelists. We'll keep asking questions, but give it up. They taught you a lot today. The one.
My uncle wears a new
Yeah, it was close. I really did want to just be able to throw it on stage.
When you're investing, do you invest for your future or invest in the present right now?
Both.
For both. For me, I always invest for my future, my 401k, my Roth IRA. I'm investing into stocks and things like that. And if you pick up a good, I'm not a financial advisor, so don't. But if you get the good skill of doing options trading and things like that, just playing in the stock market, that's also a good tool as well. But for me, I'm always investing for the future.
Yeah, I always invest for the future because it eventually will be the present, so you'll have a little bit more presence in the present. So, I invest for the future. So, yeah, because right now it's just fun money. Good, great question, for sure. I love that chain.
Rockledge, it is your turn.
Bye, Rockledge.
Hey, astronaut right there with the cheetah. Oh.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
We got a
thanks,
question
guys.
up front here. Speaker box.
Who is
catch
still
box,
here?
what's
What
this
school
called?
are you guys? Cocoa Beach. Okay, very nice. And who else? Astronaut. Oh, I love my astronaut. Where?
When you guys first started financing, what was your guys' main goal?
When I started financing, my main goal was to have a lot of money. But for me, honestly, it was be able to grow my account from where I first had it. Like we were speaking earlier about having like a savings account and things like that. Just being able to, when it's all said and done for me, I'll be able to pass things down to when I have kids and my family and things like that. So just making the next generation coming behind me better than what I started with, so they can step on my shoulders and not get it out the mud. That's my goal. Make sure they don't gotta get it out the mud.
Good question.
Mary, we have a lot of students are asking this question, and it says, is there a way to earn money without working? Would you say there is?
I mean, like, yes and no. It's all work, but go
I'll
on.
say investing.
Make your money work for you.
Putting money into the stock market. I feel like that's one of the great ways. Also, too, I mean, I think I'll just go with that. Investing.
Invest it, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead.
I think he's good. Yeah.
Hello. Okay. When it comes to the 30% rule with any credit card and overspending, as you're raising your credit score up, is it better to go credit-wise for like house mortgage and stuff? Like when you do housing, you have to do 30% of that house to have it. Is it better to do it through the bank or through your own self, like your own money?
Yeah, I can answer this question.
Yep.
Unless you have cash, you are, and I think our astronaut, I'm going to pause just a second. Astronaut, if you could somehow figure out, I know our students at the top maybe have questions. I don't know if there's a way to get that catch box up there or if it'll work, but we're going to try. So to answer your question, when you, if you have a certain amount of money to put down as a down payment on a house, that's good. But actually, you don't always need 30%, and usually it's 20. If you're a first-time home buyer, there are options at CCU. If you are a veteran or you work for a nonprofit, if you work for a government institution, there are different stipulations. So there's lots of options. But you really, really want to keep in mind that, like, you probably are going to have to finance your house or a car through a financial institution, right? Like a credit union or a bank. You can always refinance those things, which means that whatever interest rate happens, like when I moved to Florida 3 years ago, the interest rate on my first house was 2%, right? So you have an amount of money, 2% is your interest. When I moved here in Florida, the house was $100,000 more because it's better to live here, and it was 7% interest. Now I've already refinanced my house once, so now it's like 6, right? So that's why you want to be watching all the time the interest rates. And yeah, you're probably going to have to finance your house through a bank, unless you get a ton of money, which I hope you do. I'll manifest it for you, for sure.
And to piggyback on that, Mary, so you can also find different calculators online, so where you can, play a little bit with numbers and find out, okay, so if I'm trying to buy a house for this amount of money, what will be my monthly payment, and how much interest would I pay, and perhaps how much would I also pay on house insurance. So it gives you a little bit of an idea of how much you could afford if that's the route you want to go.
Vieira High School, it is your turn to stand up, follow your counselors out, and head to the bus.
All right.
Vieira High School.
Yeah, let's have this last question. If you can throw it up to there as they walk out, I'll give it to them. The upstairs. And then after we have this question, oh yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I just have a question specifically for you, Christina. So you mentioned that your son has a very successful pressure washing business. So do you have any tips or tricks to help start a business at a young age?
Don't be afraid to go door to door. That's how he started. He had flyers, think old school, right? Don't waste money on Facebook ads or anything. You buy your equipment, start very small, and that's what he did. Started with a pretty cheap residential pressure washer, earned the money to buy a commercial pressure washer, then earned the money to buy his trailer. So he didn't go into debt, but he literally built his business by knock, knock, knock. And particularly at y'all's age, most adults are really nice to kids if you're respectful and you buy a polo, dress presentable, carry yourself well. There's a lot of adults that would love to help fund someone's dream who's willing to work hard, side hustle, if you appear professional.
That's a great question.
Temple Christian, please stand up, follow your counselors.
I thought that was you.
So for anybody that didn't get a chance to ask any of the panelists a question, or if they have a question for me, my social media is the Mindset Shifter _. So if you guys have any questions, you guys can reach out to me on there if you don't get the time to do it here.
Yeah, and we'll actually, if you want to go or start with Christina, and we'll give your share your social handles.
Oh yeah. So you guys can find me on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, and now YouTube at Brevard Banana.
Yeah, woo!
Astronaut High, it is your turn to stand up, follow your counselors, and head to the bus.
Wow, that's the whole place.
All right. We'll wait. We'll wait a second.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
And someone go win that MacBook.
Yeah. That's why we weren't able to bring our phones out, so we couldn't enter the competition.
I believe we have one last question for Johnny.
Take care. Thank you so much for coming out. Hope you guys had a good
Satellite Beach.
Satellite Beach.
Let's go, Scorpions.
All right. There it is.
Sting 'em, Scorps.
Yeah, woo! And Johnny, do you want to share your socials? If anyone should follow you anywhere?
Wiedmann Construction and Roofing is WIEDMANN. We also have a YouTube. We have Wiedmann Films. We also make documentaries, and we have a nonprofit. Essentially, it's not labeled a nonprofit. I won't go that far. Wiedmann Cares, and we help out with the community. So
Beautiful.
We have one male that is missing from Rockledge High, so if you were in the restroom and you were from Rockledge High, they are waiting for you at the buses.
You shared, yeah?
Mine is the Mindset Shifter _ You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of it. The Mindset Shifter _ or Keyshawn Phelps.
And Alexandra?
Yeah, it's Alexandra Caimi, Alexandra Caimi. If you guys want to learn more about commercial real estate investing, maybe you don't want to invest in a house, maybe you want to invest in a piece of business property. Who knows?
Amazing, beautiful. What schools do, oh, yes. You don't, we'll send it.
Oh, ALEXANDRACAIMI.
And this was supposed to be on the screen, just so you know, but the laptop died. So we'll make sure all of the chaperones, all of the teachers get all of their handles and information, and then you can give it to the students as well. Yeah, yep, it was gonna be up there. I made a pretty slide and everything. Okay, where is the catchbacks and our astronaut? Or does anyone have any questions that they can yell? Yeah.
He's got the voice for it. Yeah.
Let's see if we can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't need the mic.
What is the best way to start your credit? Well, I'm gonna give this to Tanya.
I would say the best way to start your credit is do it now. Do it as young as you can. And as I mentioned earlier, you can apply for a secure credit. There are financial institutions that offer first-time borrower programs, so where you may not need to have a co-signer or co-borrower or a parent with you. So, I would just say walk in and talk to, just your financial institution to see what is the best thing for you. So whether it's a secured credit card, so I would say start small so that you can start, using your card and paying it and being comfortable with it. And now I'm going to tell you, it does take about 6 months to actually get your credit started. So it's going to take 6 billing cycles or 6 months to actually see a FICO score. And then from there, there are so many applications, even your financial institution might show how your credit score is improving, so then you can keep track of it.
Beautiful. I think we have someone right up there. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Oh, I'm going to, yeah. Oh. Aw, how can you support your family? That's a hard one. I think that's one I sometimes think about too. But yeah, anyone thoughts?
I want to push that question back and ask you, what do you mean by supporting your family? Do you mean like taking money out to help mom or dad, or do you mean just period when you have kids and stuff like that? Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah. So I will say, you're young, and I'm going to tell you from experience, learn to say no. You can't help everyone, but help those that are trying to help themselves. But also, too, the education that you can give them to help them. Because let's say if I give you, you have bad spending habits, right? Let's say that if I give you $100, you spend that $100, you come back to me and say, hey, I need another $100, and I keep giving it to you, that's not helping, right? But if you put things in place to teach them how to manage their money, start some of the stuff like this, come into some of events like this and start letting them know, okay, when I give you this 100, put this up, or do this, that. So having a system and not just give, because you will drain yourself by trying to help every single person. So just putting things in place, I would say when it comes to helping those, help those that really need it, but do not damage yourself trying to help others, because you still have to provide for yourself at the end of the day. So that'll be my advice, is just making sure you put in a system in place. Make sure you're teaching those that you're giving the money to. That way they can learn how to do money. But also, too, all the information that you learn, whether investing, whether it's, starting a business, whatever that is, pass that down. So that way it can help you in the future, because it gets tiring, trust me.
Yeah.
A helping hand can become an expectancy before you know it. So if you're helping someone and they're like, hey, what about you were supposed to give me money? It's the Monday. You were supposed to give me money on Monday. You did it the last 5 Mondays. So be careful with that. But also just dream big, man. Keep a book with you. Write down every single idea. It's not a valid. We had a pet rock in the 80s. Somebody paid money to get a pet rock. Any idea is valid. So don't tell your big ideas to small-minded people because they'll shut you down quickly. So just keep your ideas because you can totally be that guy that takes care of your whole entire family, and you don't care if it becomes an expectancy. That's what you wanted to do with your life. Follow that, man. But write everything down and don't let anybody tell you can't do it. But like Keyshawn said, it can. When you're on an airplane, they don't say first put the mask on when it comes down on all the people around you. They go put it on you first, then worry about everybody else. So. Just be mindful with it, but I think you'll be able to achieve it. If you believe in it enough, it's your dream.
Yeah.
Cocoa Beach.
Cocoa Beach. Thanks, guys. I think there's one person behind, and then we'll go down here. Okay.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Edgewood as well. Edgewood, if you would stand up.
Edgewood.
Counselors to the bus.
Woo. Thanks, Edgewood, for coming. Retirement. Well,
I say look at the company that you're working for, or if you start a business, make sure you put into 401ks. They have different accounts, and I know
and
the
your
bank
Roth.
here, the Roth IRA can speak more to this. But I would say Roth IRA and 401k. Start investing into, like say, ETFs and different stocks that you can start building that investment because it starts compounding after a while. And I don't know if you want to piggyback on that.
I'm gonna tell you a little bit of an explanatory thing, and then Alexandra will share her tip. But when you get a job and that job has benefits like health insurance and money for retirement, you can match it. A lot of companies will match maybe 7%, maybe 3%, up to a certain amount. You always want to max that out because what happens is that your paycheck then, let's say 3% of your paycheck, and then maybe it's $200, right? And then your company is matching it, then that's $400. So number one, that is the most important thing to keep in mind. Number two, you actually, and I just learned this like a few years ago, you can actually identify where your money is being invested in that 401k, which is like a little bit confusing to like think about, but you can switch that as many times as you want. So you can see, like, and actually my husband said, like, let me see how much is in your 401k. And then he was like, there should be more. Let me switch things around. And like, I didn't know that I was supposed to be looking at and switching it around. So like, really like that, number one, and then Alexandra will share her tip as well.
Titusville High, please stand up and follow your counselors out to the bus.
I was gonna say if you start a Roth, even if you don't have like a company that's giving you a 401k, you can at least start feeding your Roth because that is money that you're putting in now that you pay taxes up front that's going to build and compound that you're not paying taxes when you pull out on the back end. So it is one of the best investment tools you can possibly do, and you can start that now.
Yeah, so a Roth IRA, and Tanya, correct me or clarify anything. A Roth IRA is basically an account that you can pull money from that isn't going to be taxed. So your 401k, for example, if I took money out of my 401k right now, I would be charged a pretty penny, like a penalty fee, right? They would take money because I'm taking money out. A Roth IRA, you can put up to like $6,000 a year in it, and it will build, right? Because you're investing that money into the stock market, and then you can take it out if you want, as long as it's just the money that you put in, the principal, and you'll be good to go, right? So I used a Roth IRA when I got married as like a way to save money for my wedding. So it's a really good tool to be able to say, hey, I have this much money. It's still invested, but if you need to pull from it, you can. Not that we would suggest that.
Yeah, and speak to the Roth IRA, actually it went up for the contribution.
It did.
So last year I think it was $7,000 that you can contribute, but now it's $7,500 now. So just like I said, I always say, pick up a book. Like I learned this all in a book and just talking to different financial advisors and people like that. So I think that's one of the best things to.
Or go to the bank, honestly.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
now that I work at a financial institution, it is insane how much knowledge I have around me all the time. I could ask Tanya anything and she'd be able to tell me in 2 seconds.
West Shore, please stand up. Follow your counselors out to
Thanks,
the
guys.
buses.
Thank you. Yes,
There's a
and
hand
just
right
to
there.
add to that, I mean, IRAs are great for retirement, right? So it's just to know whether you are going to have some, or you're thinking about withdrawing money, you know, so because that's when you want to know whether you should open a savings account or an IRA. You don't really want to take money out of your IRA until retirement if you can, right? So again, Roth IRA and traditional IRAs, whether you pay taxes now or you pay taxes later. So with a Roth, you always want to have like a tax-free, right? So when you retire, you don't have to pay taxes. But then there are other, there are a lot of financial institutions that offer savings accounts, so where you can actually even earn up to 5% interest, up to certain amounts, right? So it's a good way to have money aside, so for emergencies. So then you don't have to take money out of your IRA if you don't have to.
Yeah.
Now, one last thing is, if you are working, try to find out if they offer to match on your 401k or your retirement account, because a lot of people don't really know this. And it's like leaving money on the table, because you could potentially be putting like 2% or 3% or even 4%, and your company may match that. So it is extra money for your retirement as well.
Thank you, Tanya. Yes,
O'Galley
good.
and Coco. O'Galley
Oh,
and
if you're
Coco.
from O'Galley, you want to ask your question?
Oh.
20. What's the biggest risk you had to take for your business?
I think getting credit is the biggest, because you got to look at ROI. So anytime you take money for a business, you got to look at what return am I getting.
Perfect. Oh, yeah.
It's a simple answer.
Sorry. How does what? Say that, the last part of it? Oh, in budgeting, you have to, and if any of you have a thought on this too, but it really is about planning for the whole year and saving specific. If you make a lot of money at once, make sure you're putting that away and identifying, okay, if my budget is this much a month, how much am I spending? Think about everything in months. Even though you get that money, think, okay, how many months is this for me?
And then you can also set up even if you get paid, let's say bi-weekly, when I mentioned, there are a lot of ways to automate your automatic transfers to save money. So instead of, transferring, I don't know, $50 every month, then just put a certain amount every time you get paid. So it'll add up to the same amount. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.